The rainbow flags flutter against the humid Austin sky as thousands of voices rise together beneath the Texas sun. Tyler Mitchell stands at the edge of Zilker Park, watching the Austin Pride Parade unfold before him, but his smile doesn't quite reach his eyes. At 23, he should be celebrating with pure joy, yet the weight of unpaid bills presses heavy in his backpack. Riley Chen nudges his shoulder, rainbow face paint streaking from sweat. This is our day. Tyler, stop looking like you're planning your escape route. But Tyler can't shake the anxiety clawing at his chest. His phone buzzes relentlessly with notifications he's too afraid to read. His phone rings, cutting through the celebration around him. The caller ID reads Linda Mitchell, and Tyler's stomach drops. Mom never calls during Pride. Tyler, honey. Riley watches as Tyler's face drains of color. It's bad news. His mother's cancer has returned, and the treatment costs have shifted from manageable debt to insurmountable mountain. Sophia's scholarship interview at SMU has been canceled because they couldn't afford the application fees. The irony isn't lost on him. 6 years ago, he came out to his father in their kitchen in Round Rock. The man looked at his son and said words that still echo, "I'd rather have no son than a gay son." Tyler left home that night with a garbage bag of clothes and never looked back. That evening, Tyler sits alone in Justine's Brasserie, an upscale French restaurant in East Austin. The invitation came through a text message from an unknown number. Julian Croft. We need to talk. Julian Croft appears exactly on time, and Tyler understands immediately why powerful people take his calls. At 71, Julian carries himself with the confidence of someone who has never had to apologize for taking up space. His silver hair is perfectly styled, his suit tailored to fit like armor. Tyler shifts uncomfortably in his thrift store blazer. You said you knew about my financial situation, how Julian sits with practiced grace. I make it my business to know things. Tyler, your mother's medical bills, your sister's education, your father's debts. You're drowning, and I'm offering you a life raft. Julian continues with calm certainty. I'm proposing a business arrangement, marriage to be specific, legal and binding, with clear benefits for both parties. Tyler almost laughs. You can't be serious. Julian doesn't smile. I'm offering to pay off all medical debts, ensure your sister's education, and provide you with financial security for life. In return, you become my husband, not in romance, but in name and legal status. There are social expectations. Of course, Austin society values traditional presentations. The implication hits Tyler like a physical blow. You want me to pretend to be straight? Julian's expression doesn't change. I want you to help me maintain the image my business requires. What you do privately is your concern. Julian seems to sense his internal struggle. Your father took something from me once. Tyler, something precious. But that's not your fault. I'm interested in mutual benefit. Julian's voice carries old pain. Marcus used to say Austin was where dreams come to grow or die. He believed this city could be a place where people like us could build something real. Tyler makes the call that will change everything. He accepts the proposal with one condition. Whatever happens in public, you respect who I am in private. Julian nods once. Agreed. 2 weeks later, Tyler stands in the Travis County Courthouse wearing a suit Julian provided. The ceremony is brief and sterile, witnessed only by Julian's lawyer and a court clerk who speaks softly in Spanish. Que Dios los bendiga, she whispers. Walking out into the Austin sunshine, Tyler feels like he's crossing a bridge that's burning behind him. Riley waits in the parking lot. You sure about this, Walt? Tyler admits. But sometimes choosing survival is the only brave thing left to do. Sometimes the most difficult choice is the one that saves everyone else. Even when it costs you pieces of yourself, you're not sure you can afford to lose. But Tyler is learning that strength sometimes looks like surrender. And love sometimes requires sacrifice that no one else will ever understand. If this story moves you, remember to like and subscribe to Heart Stories for more real tales of love, struggle, and the complex choices we make when survival and authenticity collide. The gates to the Westlake Hills estate open with a whisper of expensive machinery, revealing a world Tyler never imagined he'd inhabit. The mansion sprawls across manicured grounds overlooking Lady Bird Lake, its limestone facade glowing golden in the late afternoon sun. Carlos Hernandez meets them at the circular drive, his warm brown eyes seeking Tyler's with protective concern. Carlos has been Julian's house manager for 15 years, and Tyler senses immediately that this man sees everything within these walls. Julian provides a brief tour. Your bedroom is in the east wing. You'll have privacy and space to maintain your studies. The Wi-Fi password is Marcus 2008, and dinner is served at 7 sharp. Tyler notes the password with interest, but doesn't comment. Tyler's first week passes in adjustment and discomfort. He attends classes at UT in the morning, comes home to study in luxury he can't believe is real, and joins Julian for dinners that feel like diplomatic negotiations. But Tyler begins to notice things. The way Julian's face changes when he thinks no one is looking. The phone calls he takes behind closed doors, speaking about unfinished business. The locked rooms that Carlos approaches with a set expression. Riley visits on a Thursday, scaling the estate's back fence and meeting Tyler at the boathouse. You look different, Riley observes, just like you're wearing a costume. Tyler can't deny it. The clothes fit perfectly, but they feel like armor. The privacy is luxury, but the isolation is suffocating. The answer begins revealing itself during Tyler's second week, when Julian announces their first public appearance. The Austin Business Council is hosting their annual gala, and Julian expects Tyler to accompany him as his spouse. Julian provides coaching sessions that feel like preparation for a performance Tyler never auditioned for. How to stand at social gatherings, how to make conversation with Austin's elite, how to project the image of a successful businessman's younger partner. Tyler begins exploring the house during Julian's business hours. Most rooms are accessible, filled with expensive furniture and art, but the locked doors call to him with increasing urgency. Carlos finds Tyler examining a door handle in the West Wing. Some doors stay closed for good reasons, Carlos says quietly, but some stay closed because opening them hurts too much. Maria begins teaching Tyler basic Spanish during their afternoon conversations in the kitchen. Julian is respectful but distant with staff, generous with benefits, but careful with personal connection. He's a good man carrying bad memories, Maria observes, but good men can do harmful things when pain drives their choices. Tyler's phone rings during gala preparation. His mother's voice carries from her hospital room. Tyler, honey, I need you to know how grateful I am. The treatment is working because of what you've done. Sophia got into SMU with a full scholarship. You saved us, baby. The conversation ends with Tyler staring at himself in Julian's bathroom mirror, seeing a young man trapped between survival and authenticity. His family is healing while he's slowly disappearing into a role that feels more confining every day. Julian finds Tyler in the study late that night, surrounded by law textbooks. You don't have to prove your worth through academic achievement. Tyler, you've already fulfilled your part of our arrangement. I'm not studying to prove anything to you. Tyler replies, I'm studying because I want to help people who end up in situations like mine. People who have to choose between dignity and survival. Julian's laugh carries no humor. Those situations are rarely accidents. Tyler, sometimes they're carefully constructed to leave people with limited options. When we compromise too much of ourselves for security, we risk forgetting who we were before desperation forced our hand. The challenge lies in maintaining our core identity while navigating circumstances that demand we become someone else entirely. Tyler finds the key tucked inside Marcus's old jewelry box in a guest room that Julian clearly avoided. The small silver key feels warm in Tyler's palm, as if it has been waiting years for someone brave enough to ask the questions that matter. The locked room opens with a soft click. Inside, Tyler steps into a world frozen in time. This was Marcus's art studio, and every surface tells the story of a love that was real and deep and tragically cut short. Canvases lean against walls, depicting scenes of old Austin before gentrification. Hidden behind a large canvas, Tyler discovers a folder thick with documents that change everything. The papers tell a story of fraud and betrayal that reaches back to Tyler's childhood, to decisions his father made that destroyed more than just his own family's financial future. In 2008, Robert Mitchell convinced Julian and Marcus to invest their life savings in a luxury condominium development designed for Austin's LGBTQ+ community. The Lavender District was supposed to be a safe haven in Oak Hill, where queer families could live openly without fear. The truth cuts Tyler to his core. His father was a fraud who never intended to build anything meaningful. Robert Mitchell systematically drained the investment accounts, using the money to cover gambling debts. When the project collapsed, Julian and Marcus lost everything they had worked decades to build. Marcus's suicide note, filed among the legal documents, destroys any illusions Tyler might have harbored. "I can't live knowing our dream became someone else's nightmare." Marcus wrote, "We believed in something beautiful, and now I understand that some people see beauty as weakness to exploit." Tyler sits on the floor, surrounded by evidence of his father's cruelty and Marcus's destroyed hope. Marcus died 3 months after the investment collapsed, officially from a heart attack, but really from stress and heartbreak. Julian's transformation from victim to predator makes terrible sense. Tyler finds journals detailing Julian's investigation into Robert Mitchell's other victims, the careful planning that went into creating the exact circumstances that would force Tyler into this marriage. The marriage certificate Tyler signed in carries a date that predates their meeting by 6 months. Julian planned this arrangement before Tyler even knew Julian existed. Tyler calls Riley from the locked room, his voice shaking. "You have to get out of there," Riley insists. "This isn't marriage, Tyler. This is kidnapping with paperwork." Father Miguel Santos finds Tyler sitting in the back pew of St. Mary's Cathedral downtown. "Your father's sins are not your cross to bear, mijo," Father Miguel says finally. "But Julian's pain doesn't justify making you suffer for crimes you didn't commit." Tyler begins volunteering at Out Youth Austin, a shelter for homeless LGBTQ+ teenagers. The work connects him to his purpose in ways that studying law never could. These kids understand survival choices that adults are lucky enough never to face. Diego, 17 and newly homeless after coming out as transgender, reminds Tyler why authentic community matters more than individual security. Diego sleeps rough rather than hide who he is, choosing dignity over safety. The confrontation with Julian happens on a Thursday evening when Tyler can no longer carry the weight of secrets. He returns from Out Youth wearing his volunteer t-shirt, and Julian's expression changes when he sees the rainbow logo. Tyler lays the documents on Julian's desk like evidence in a courtroom. "You destroyed my father 20 years ago, and now you're destroying me for his crimes. Your father took everything from me. Tyler, my partner, my future, my ability to trust." Julian's voice carries decades of pain. "You remind me of him. You know, Marcus had the same fire, the same stubborn belief that authenticity was worth any price." The admission that Tyler reminds Julian of Marcus adds layers that Tyler isn't prepared to navigate. Julian has been living with Tyler as substitute for the man he couldn't save. Sometimes the people who hurt us most are those who claim to love us best, because they understand our weaknesses well enough to exploit them. The challenge lies in recognizing when protection becomes imprisonment. Tyler's hands shake as he dials David Rodriguez's number, barely steady enough to explain why a fellow UT law student might need help with what sounds like a kidnapping case disguised as marriage. This is coercive control with sophisticated legal cover. David responds, but David knows Detective James Washington with Austin PD, and Washington specializes in cases where power dynamics create situations that traditional law enforcement struggles to recognize. Detective Washington meets Tyler at Muller Lake Park. Washington, a black gay man in his 40s, understands intersectionality in ways that most law enforcement doesn't. He's seen how wealthy predators use systems of oppression to trap victims who can't afford traditional legal protection. What you're describing meets the legal definition of human trafficking. Washington says finally, Julian used fraud to create your desperation, then exploited that desperation to obtain forced labor disguised as marriage. Maya Rodriguez joins Tyler's legal team through connections David makes within Austin's progressive legal community. Maya brings expertise in cases where economic desperation and identity-based vulnerability intersect. Maya's investigation reveals Julian's current business activities extend into complex financial arrangements that launder money through community development projects. The Austin City Council members who fast-tracked Julian's zoning applications received donations that function as bribes. Tyler begins documenting everything through methods Maya teaches him: phone recordings of Julian's business calls, photographs of documents, notes about meetings where Julian discusses using nonprofit organizations to move money between accounts. Carlos and Maria provide testimony that fills gaps in Tyler's documentation. Carlos describes finding Tyler crying after difficult social performances, and how Julian's control extends to monitoring Tyler's communications and movements. The investigation reveals that Tyler isn't Julian's first victim. Maya discovers two previous young men who accepted Julian's financial support under similar circumstances. Both eventually paid to disappear quietly when they became too difficult to control. Tyler's volunteer work at Out Youth becomes his source of strength and clarity. Diego and the other homeless youth remind him that authentic community requires people who choose truth over comfort, who risk safety for the possibility of belonging somewhere real. The confrontation Tyler dreads happens when Julian discovers the legal proceedings through his own lawyer network. Julian's response reveals the full extent of his surveillance and control systems. Julian's threats focus on destroying Tyler's family relationships and future career prospects. Medical insurance can be canceled, student loans can be called immediately due, and scholarship opportunities can disappear through phone calls to the right connections. But Julian's desperation also reveals his vulnerability. The business empire built on laundered money can't survive serious investigation, and Julian's social standing depends on maintaining relationships with people who would abandon him. Tyler finds courage in unexpected places. The UT LGBT Resource Center organizes support that includes legal observers at court hearings and safe housing if Tyler needs to leave the estate immediately. Tyler's decision to proceed with prosecution comes during a conversation with Diego at Out Youth. "I can't save everyone," Tyler tells Diego, "but maybe I can make it harder for him to keep hunting people like us." The legal process moves faster than Tyler expected, with Washington's investigation revealing federal crimes that bring FBI involvement. Money laundering through nonprofit organizations and using interstate commerce to facilitate human trafficking are felony charges. Julian's arrest happens on a Thursday morning while Tyler attends his family law class at UT. Tyler returns to the estate to collect his belongings, accompanied by Detective Washington. The house feels different now, emptier but also less oppressive. Sometimes the most important battles are fought not for ourselves alone, but for everyone who might face similar choices if we don't find the courage to resist systems designed to exploit our desperation. The federal court for the Western District of Texas sits in downtown Austin like a monument to justice that Tyler never imagined he would enter as anything other than a law student. Today, he walks through its doors as a survivor preparing to testify against someone who manipulated his desperation. Julian pleads guilty to money laundering and conspiracy charges in a courtroom filled with other survivors who found courage through Tyler's example. The plea agreement includes 5 years in federal prison, with possibility of parole in 3, restitution to all victims, and forfeiture of assets. Maya Rodriguez ensures that Julian's forfeited assets are structured to benefit other survivors through the Marcus Foundation for LGBTQ+ Housing Justice. Named for the man whose death started Julian's journey toward becoming someone who caused the same kind of pain he had experienced. 2 years after Julian's conviction, Tyler graduates from UT, law summa cum laude, and accepts a position with Texas Rio Grande Legal Aid, specializing in LGBTQ+ rights litigation. His first case involves housing discrimination against a transgender woman. The Marcus House opens in the renovated Westlake Hills estate, providing transitional housing for LGBTQ youth aging out of foster care or escaping family rejection. Diego serves as the first resident director, using his own survival experience to help other young people. Carlos and Maria continue working at Marcus House, finally employed somewhere that celebrates rather than merely tolerates their authentic selves. The house operates on principles of mutual aid, and community support. Tyler's relationship with Alex Chen, Riley's older brother who works as a social worker in East Austin, develops slowly through shared values rather than crisis or desperation. Alex understands the complexity of Tyler's healing process. The Austin City Council passes housing discrimination protections for LGBTQ+ individuals after Tyler's testimony about how economic vulnerability intersects with identity-based persecution. The legislation includes enforcement mechanisms that provide real consequences. Tyler's mother visits Austin for the first time since his marriage to Julian, meeting Alex and seeing Tyler's work at Marcus House. Linda's understanding evolves through conversations that acknowledge both her gratitude for Tyler's sacrifice and recognition that such sacrifice shouldn't have been necessary. Julian's parole hearing happens on a spring morning when Austin's wildflowers bloom across the hills. Tyler attends as observer rather than participant, curious about how 3 years of prison have changed the man who controlled his life. Tyler's conversation with Julian after the parole hearing happens at a picnic table outside the federal courthouse. Julian looks older, his expensive suits replaced by clothes that speak of middle-class ordinariness rather than elite privilege. Julian's apology includes details that demonstrate understanding of how his actions affected not just Tyler, but everyone who loved Tyler. Julian acknowledges using Tyler as substitute for Marcus in ways that prevented both of them from healing authentically. Tyler's response focuses on accountability rather than forgiveness, explaining that Julian's healing journey must remain separate from Tyler's own recovery. Tyler won't provide Julian with absolution, but he also won't carry hatred that would poison his own future relationships. Tyler's keynote address at South by Southwest 2026 focuses on how economic desperation intersects with identity-based discrimination to create situations where people must choose between survival and authenticity. Julian sits in the back row of the SXSW audience, listening but not participating, respecting Tyler's space while witnessing Tyler's transformation from victim to advocate. Tyler closes his speech with reflections on how Austin's Keep It Weird culture can include keeping space for people whose survival strategies don't look like traditional success, whose families are chosen rather than biological. Tyler's final words address the question that haunts many survivors. Austin taught me that family isn't who shares your blood, it's who shares your fight. Sometimes healing means learning that we can acknowledge someone's pain without excusing their choices to inflict that pain on others. Have you ever had to choose between survival and authenticity? Have you found ways to build community that doesn't require you to sacrifice essential parts of yourself? Tyler's story reminds us that justice involves both accountability for harm and creating conditions where such harm becomes less likely. If this story moved you, please like and subscribe to Heart Stories for more real narratives about identity, resilience, and the complex work of building communities where everyone's love and authenticity can flourish.